Top of the morning, everybody. Welcome to Just a Point of View. Today's topic, I shouldn't be talking about this, but it's necessary. Today's topic is dealing with Killer Cal Rittenhouse. You may remember this young man who murdered several people and injured others as a domestic terrorist. I believe that it happened in Wisconsin. But before I continue, I want to let the listening audience know that even though in many of my videos I identify so-called white Americans as so-called whites, and I may say so-called blacks, so forth and so on, I am not in any way, form, or fashion against anybody because of their nationality or their connection with a certain ethnic group. What I am against, or I oppose and I resist, and I will continue to fight till the casket drop, is injustice. If it's coming from the left or the right, from the black or the white, from anywhere where do I see that there's a double standard or some criminal activity going against people that are just trying to live and survive, I will lend my voice to speak on the behalf of those that don't have a voice or that don't have a platform. So those that are listening that may be the so-called white American ethnic group or nationality, I am telling you from the depths of my heart that I have no prejudice or racist connotations against anyone because of, again, their nationality or their ethnicity. Even though some of the things that I say may sound harsh, but the truth is harsh. So let's move forward. Killer Cal Rittenhouse is the topic of the day because some events that took place a few days ago that was very disturbing to me. I couldn't get to the platform and speak on it until today. I have learned that Mr. Rittenhouse had gone missing in a sense. He was no longer at the residence or the place that the probation people had him as being at, as far as according to the documents and the records. And the thing came about is that his lawyer knew where he was at and refused to tell the judge because they said that he feared for his life. He was getting death threats, so forth and so on. So my problem or gripe with this is that I am well aware of the so-called justice system that really is a system of injustice. And you can make your own analysis, agreement, or disagreement with my statement. So here in Washington, D.C., I know for a fact if you're put on parole or probation and you're giving the probation or parole officer an address, that is where you're supposed to be at. That is your place of residence. That's where they come to make the home visits. That's where they make contact with you at. That's where they go if they need to rearrest you. So in this case with Mr. Rittenhouse, the probation officer went to go visit. He wasn't there. He had relocated without giving any information to the system. And it came to the point where there was a judge that they attempted to go and get a arrest warrant for him. And the judge said that he didn't have the authority to do that. Well, I'm telling you that judge is a bold-faced liar. That judge is in support of the behavior that Mr. Rittenhouse has committed as far as Killer Cal murdering those two civilians. You know, he's a domestic terrorist, and the judge showed by his refusal to, to put out an arrest warrant for him that he is, in agreement with this domestic terrorist, Killer Cow Rittenhouse. You know, Killer Cow had drunk the Trump juice, and you know, I would want to give him some type of excuse, but I can't. He murdered two people. I can't because I know how the system has been against people that looks like me as far as, the melanin in their system. I know that there are people that would not be on not on house arrest or anything if they had committed that uh, atrocity of a crime against other people. It's plain and simple in the black community. We got people right now in jail that have been charged correctly or fraudulently held without bond because of the level of, the severity of the charges against them being a potential flight risk, meaning that they may not come back to court. Well, because of Mr. Rittenhouse, um, what they call that complexion of protection. He has been allowed liberties that others have been denied. He's been reunited with his so-called white nationalist mother, who should be charged because her and I think it's his father, they have groomed this young man. They have poisoned his mind. They have allow him to drink the Trump juice, and he has lost his mind. So another thing that Mr. Rittenhouse did, there was a no-no, was a violation of his conditions of release, and if it wasn't, it should have been. So if you get arrested in Washington D.C. and you say like you was arrested on a certain block because you was selling drugs, they tell you that you cannot go on that block. You cannot go around people doing that type of behavior. You can't be in the presence of people that's participating in the sale of so-called illicit drugs. Now, Mr. Rittenhouse went to a bar with his mother out there where he stays at, and they say that he's underage, 17 years old, should have been charged as an adult. So he's in there drinking with his mom. Madness. He sees some white nationalists. They come over and honor him. They uplift him in his behavior of murder. And this young man, intoxicated, not even developed properly mentally. In the years to come, Mr. Rittenhouse may look back on this events that took place in his life that changed his life, changed the lives of the people that he murdered, and may find some remorse once he's separated from the poison of his mother, his community, and the culture that has embraced, and that's white nationalism. Another thing is that Mr. Rittenhouse wouldn't be out right now today if it wasn't for so-called white nationalist, evangelical Christians, so-called Christians, actually charlatans. These individuals raised over $2 million or got him out on a $2 million bond or release order. I never heard of such a thing. See what I'm saying? And in the so-called black community, even if a person could raise $2 million, they would not be able to get out of jail because they'd be held without bond. This is an injustice system. This system is corrupt. And because of the corruption of this system, it is obvious that in the future, in the long run, it will be dissolved. It will crumble because it is built on the foundation of corruption. And corruption cannot stand the test of time. And we have a perfect example with Killer Cow, this insensitive judge. He's only thinking about the white nationalist perspective. He's not thinking about these men who were murdered and their families and their children and their significant others. And this is the insanity of so-called white nationalism here in the United States. It is one of the greatest enemies to Americans, but it is one of the greatest assets to the Ameriklan. Let me say that again. White nationalism is one of the greatest enemies to Americans, but a great asset to the Ameriklan. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to think about, things that you may engage in or put yourself in these positions, especially if you're a person of color. Because if you went out and did the same thing that Mr. Rittenhouse did, your black so-called black will be in jail, held without bail. No special diets like this one guy that got the organic diet. See, these types of things that is going on that's continuously slapping, good people or honest people or people that want to believe in the system, slapping them in the face and saying, you know what, these are racist, Ku Klux Klan, good old boys, grand old party, proud boys, militias, all the so-called white hateful entities. This is what's going on in the injustice judiciary system of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time to listen. I hope all people with a reasoning mind will see the reality of what's going on. Put your prejudice to the side. Put your alliances with your culture and the so-called people to the side and look at precepts upon precepts and truths upon truth and make an analysis. Before I go, that's one of the things I cannot wrap my mind and my heart around is how some people in the United States look at certain behaviors and activities and are so heartless about it when it comes to people that don't look like them. And you know what? The root of this problem go to the lies that the founding fathers and those individuals that helped build this country on the evil, nefarious operation of the suppression and oppression of people and truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you this message in love. I leave you this message in peace and goodwill to all mankind. At the end of the day, God over everything, love over everything, truth over everything. And if you can wrap your mind and your thought process around that, you will become a better person. And you will be doing your part to make this society or your immediate cipher or surrounding a better place to interact. Peace.